How's it going, guys? This one right here is going to be most definitely an essential. Very important for anybody who is going to be taking this work seriously. As well, was it a big affirmation for myself because, like I said, a lot of my work I channel, and then I just go and I fact check it everywhere else. But the Kybalion, which is the most probably most significant piece of literature based off of Hermetic philosophy, off of Hermes Trismegistus's work. I'm sure you know who he is, and if not, then he is 150,000% worth going and looking into immediately. He's the father of ancient philosophy, alchemy, and astronomy. He's pretty much the father of magic, in general, and just the way that it's been since the beginning of time. He's also known as a trickster character in some cases, along with like Loki for the Norse, except Hermes would be in the Greek, of course. But basically, just amazing with words, amazing with language, which is language is everything. It's, without communication, you have nothing, and he's like the messenger of the gods, basically. But anyway, the Hermetic philosophies, the Kybalion, it's very important work, and I come to find that pretty much all of personal my personal feelings about this stuff that I've collected over all these years is pretty much 150% accurate to the Hermetic principles and whatnot. So I'm just going to go over those with you guys today and explain to you what they are. And just for the record, Hermes is also Thoth, if you've ever heard of Thoth. And he's also known as the scribe of God, which means like the writer of God, relayer of messages. So just to get one thing down before we start is understanding that the alchemical transmutation of course, ancient alchemists, if you were dumb and only look so far into the definition, you see that it says they're trying to turn base metal into gold, which is just a very fucking, like, not even exactly metaphorical, because that's possible, but that's not at all what they're trying to do. The most important thing is a mental transmutation of mental vibrations into other kinds of mental vibrations, because all is mental. But anyway, now I'll go over the seven Hermetic principles, and it starts out with the all is mental one. So in order, real quick, the seven Hermetic principles are: 1, the principle of mentalism; 2, the principle of correspondence; 3, the principle of vibration; 4, the principle of polarity; 5, the principle of rhythm; 6, the principle of cause and effect; and 7, the principle of gender. And all these are what make up basically everything that manifests before us and what we can understand of it, even to the quantum aspects. And 1, the principle of mentalism, is that all is mind, the substantial reality underlaying all outward manifestations is what they call the material universe, as in it's the material of where everything is birthed from. So even right here, it's where it shows soon that how every single person who's been talking about the all or the infinite or aether has all been talking about the same thing, but just with different names. But the general consensus is that it's an inside projection casted outward, meaning that we are the all, and everything is mental. Everything is a mental projection of the all, which is us, and we're projected into a universe, but it's mental, a mental creation of the all, which we are, and which we all are an aspect of. Which leads to the next principle, which is the principle of correspondences, and that is the as above, so below, so above, and the idea that there is always a direct manifestation of the spirit onto the physical. There's never something that's going to manifest on the physical plane that didn't first start within the spiritual, because that's from which everything comes. It's not the other way around. It doesn't start in the physical then go to the spiritual. It starts in the spiritual and then manifests in the physical, because everything in the physical is a direct manifestation of something from the metaphysical. And it says no matter what no matter what the manifestation is, it could be something as little as a burp all the way up to a spout of good luck. It doesn't matter. It came from the mental and the spiritual planes and is now on the physical. It had to first manifest in the spiritual, then go to the mental, and then happen on the material plane. So that's the order that it happens in. And understanding the different ways that these different planes work, like how the elements are made up of elemental beings. Once you start to understand that and you start to look for it, then you will start to switch your eyesight, very literally, your spiritual vision and your extrasensory perception. You'll be able to see these planes more than you would if you had no knowledge of them prior. And then the third principle is of vibration, and that is that nothing rests, everything vibrates, and nothing is at rest. So no matter what it is, it's just it's vibrating at a different rate, and a different frequency, and that's what makes its different states of matter even. So different states of matter and different solid, like solid, liquid, gas, and stuff like that, it all equals a different vibration and a different frequency of vibration. And the higher the vibration, the higher on the scale things are. And energy and force are just varying degrees of vibration. Vibration affects states on all planes, mental, physical, and spiritual. Frequency and vibration is basically the language that resonates on every single plane. So is the point to take out of that. And that takes us to the fourth principle, which is the principle of polarity. And that is that everything is dual, everything has two poles, everything has a pair of opposites. Opposites are identical in nature but different in degree, which makes perfect sense. They look exactly like each other basically, but their intentions are the complete opposite. One you could say is evilly intended, one you could say is positively intended, undoing whatever it does. But it could just be polar opposites of whatever. That's just one way of looking at it. And this is one that I really liked and that I understood deeply, just innately. And it says that opposites are identical in nature but different in degree. Extremes meet. All truths are but half-truths, and all paradoxes can be reconciled. Meaning that everything has a polar opposite situation taking place at the same exact time, since everything is dual. And so there's both happening at the same time. One's just on a plane that you can't understand, so that makes your truth only a half truth ever, because there's always something happening on the opposite plane of reality. And it says that all paradoxes can be reconciled, meaning that you can branch off in like different timelines in a way. If you know that there's always an opposite of whatever's going on taking place at the same time, you can reconcile paradoxes kind of and work like magic. And it says that everything is and isn't all at the same time. And opposites equal just the two opposite end of the spectrum extremes of the same one subject. So opposites are just the two extreme sides of the same exact subject, no matter when or what. Light and dark are polar extremes. Love and hate are polar extremes. Like love and hate are pretty much the same thing as love. If you're going to be hateful enough to kill somebody, it's going to be for a cause that you love enough to kill somebody for, even if that's the love of something dark that you stand for that much. And dark and light are just basically light at different ends of the spectrum. Barely present at all, and then very present. And one thing that the Hermetic alchemist wants to be really good at doing, especially in today's world, is, and even it says in here, which is one of the things I'm very good at doing with my shamanism, is transmuting evil into good through application of polarity. So taking a bad situation that's negative and then finding a way to make it positive. Okay, and then next that brings us to the principle of rhythm. Everything flows out and in, everything has tides, everything has a pendulum effect. There's always action and reaction, no matter what, to every single thing. So basically, there's like this rhythm behind everything, going back and forth, and everything has its back movement, its isometric stop, and then it has its forward movement. And then that could come into like the yogic breathing. Whenever you look for the spot between breaths, between when you are inhaling and exhaling, there's an isometric stop in between them, and then you're going back out. And that's a great way to look at how that's constant. That's the closest thing to the infinite that we have immediately to us in our actions, is our breath, because without that we wouldn't be living. So you can look at the pattern of that to see how there's like that pendulum effect behind everything. You have your in breath, you have your isometric stop between breaths, and then you have your out breath. And that's basically the pendulum effect behind everything, but it manifests in different ways depending on the plane of reality. And then it's talking about something that I've always felt kindred to as well in the law of rhythm, is that it says it's the law of neutralization. It cannot annul or seize, but it can escape its effects if you learn how to be neutral to whatever is happening. So if there's something that's happening that you don't want to be affected by negatively or positively, because you just don't know how it will work out for you, then you can choose to let it be a negative effect. A neutral effect, which won't affect you at all. You can't annul it, you can't seize it from happening, but you can make it so it doesn't affect you if you take a neutral point of view, basically, on it. And then the next principle is the principle of cause and effect, and this leads into other ones too. I'll explain that in a minute. Everything has cause and effect, and everything has that has effect came from a cause. Chance is chance is but a name for a cause not recognized, which I think that's a good thing. I'll repeat that. It says chance is but a name for a cause not recognized. If you say it happens by chance, it's just because somebody doesn't know why it happened. But everything has a direct manifestation. This comes back into the other laws earlier. The cause and effect. Everything has a direct cause from something spiritual because it's manifesting on the physical. And everything that happens on the spiritual will inevitably have an effect on the physical, no matter what. If it's manifesting on one plane, it's manifesting on the others, and the order of operations the thing goes. But it comes down from like a descending order. It happens in the all, and then it happens in the mental plane, and then it happens in the physical plane. And it's going to inevitably be happening in all three of those at the same time. And understanding this brings a lot of power, and it says masses are moved like pawns on the field that the masses are played like pawns on a field that outwits them. However, the masters move to the plane above and dominate their moods, characters, and qualities, as well as the environment surrounding them. So it says that whenever you unlock this information, you're no longer a pawn, you become a mover, and you can not only affect yourself mentally, but you can affect the people around you mentally too, because they have the lack of this information, meaning that they're like basically not a main character, like I was talking about in my other video. Without the knowledge of this, basically you are lacking your divine spark, and you're lacking all your potential if you don't have this knowledge. So, and it's not even I find these days it's not wise to awake the masses. It's just wise to awake people who are going to be able to even comprehend this, because the majority of the people aren't ready for this, but the ones who are the ones who are going to make a big difference in the world and take it into a direction that we want to take it into. And it's not going to take all these people who are lacking that divinity, because it's like they're unactivated, they're almost dead to making any change. But people like us who are on the spiritual path, we're starting to understand what's happening. We understand that we're a piece of divinity, and that we are making the cause and effect, and that we can learn how to do this. We start being movers instead of pawns. And then it becomes a lot easier to see the corruption and to see how little the people around us actually understand about anything that's going on. And lastly is the principle of gender, which almost kind of fits into the principle of duality. Everything has divine feminine and everything has divine masculine, no matter what it is. Because if it is in fact an entity of any sort, whether it be a thought form or an actual manifestation on the physical plane, which is one and the same, it has physical, mental, and spiritual existence, and there is a masculine and feminine part of it, because again, everything has poles that are at the opposite ends of the spectrum. So anything that's manifesting, its essence is made up of a masculine and feminine, inevitably, or it wouldn't even exist. So basically everything that exists has a masculine and feminine aspect, or it wouldn't even exist in the first place. And that one's pretty simple, depending on when you're talking about it. So further it says mind, as well as metals and elements, may be transmuted from state to state, degree to degree, condition to condition, pole to pole, vibration to vibration. The true hermetic transmission is a mental art. So really what they're trying to do mainly, more than anything, which will control everything below it and above it, is to transmute your mental vibrations into higher mental vibrations. And That's where it comes into when I always talk about DNA manipulation and changing the synapses in your brain and whatnot. You change your way of thinking, and since you are manifesting in a world that is an outward projection of the all that is within you, you change the world around you as you start to change yourself inside. So working on yourself, sound it crazy or sound it whatever, will most certainly and very effectively, I've witnessed this, change the world that is happening around you. You changing yourself mentally will change the people around you in your life who you interact with. It'll change the news that you hear about on the TV because you are directly manifesting the universe that's around you. We all are. And an amazing example that's very simple of inner alchemy and how we transmute energy. We transmute food that we eat into energy that we live off of, into oxygen that we breathe. We transmute the sunlight into energy just like fucking plants. We are like human photosynthesis. We transmute water and food into oxygen that we can sustain ourselves with and breathe with, and the nutrients that we need to survive. So that's just internal transmutation, but it's still amazing. We're taking one thing and turning it into energy for ourselves. And it says again, which is true, Hermeticists were the original alchemists, astrologers, and psychologists. And Egyptians, in fact, were the masters of psychology in branches that psychologists don't mess with anymore, like psychic psychology and mystic psychology, which is basically metaphysical and supernatural explanations within psychology, which is all present all the time, whether you're that kind of psychologist or not. And again, this information right here, this is the purest of pure knowledge as far as doing magic and manifestation comes. Getting deep into this knowledge right here is what will get you the best of results and the best of understandings. And this knowledge is just pure. It's not good, it's not bad. It is completely reliant upon the intentions of the withholder as to what the outcome is going to be, good or bad. It depends on who is holding the knowledge and what they are going to choose to do with it. But you won't even come to this degree of knowledge unless you have some kind of sense about you. So I strongly recommend going over the Hermetic principles, look into the Kybalion, and I'll return with more videos on this, but this is a very important brief run by, and writing this kind of shit down and getting to know it very well, and then try to understand it within your own physical life, seeing how it works is going to be the best way to start to up your extrasensory perception, start to subconsciously give yourself the information that it needs to start growing. And real quick, I just wanted to go over a couple things real fast, just a continuation of a couple things, like such as how like the aether and this energy is called the same thing throughout a bunch of different religions and practices, yogic practices, whatever you want to call it. But one definition that the Kybalion uses is under and back of the universe of time, space, and change is ever to be found the substantial reality, the fundamental truth. And it's talking about spirit and ether. So I'll read that again. It says, under and back of the universe of time, space, and change is ever to be found the substantial reality and fundamental truth. And again, it's talking about the ether. And this, again, you can think of as the feminine aspect of everything, the spirit feminine aspect. And there's another quote here in just a second that will say that too. Right here, it says, the infinite mind of the all is the womb of universes. The infinite mind of the all is the womb of all universes. So the womb, the female aspect, the substance from which it's created. And substance, it says, substance means that which outlies all outward manifestations, the essential reality, the thing in itself. And it continues on to talk about the omnipresence of it and how it is everywhere and there's nowhere it cannot be. And it even talks about how, whatever it was, Newton or whatever, talking about the laws of energy, how it cannot be created nor destroyed and stuff like that, nor added or subtracted to itself, which means it's omnipresent. But, and it started to go into how could it create as we do, because it's we're a microcosmos, we're an exact replica of the all in our mind and the way that we are, the energies we have to manifest. And it was thinking about how could this all create us, because if it cannot add or subtract to itself, It cannot give a piece of itself and then replicate, which would be adding and subtracting and all that. So it could not take outside material to create us. It couldn't take inside material to create us, because it would be taken from itself or taken from somewhere else, which it cannot do because it is the all. So it comes down to realize that it can only mentally create. So the all is everything that is, and then we are mental creations of the all, because that's the only way that it could create without adding or subtracting to itself, or creating or destroying. It's just mental processes, mental outward projections of the all. And that's how nothing can manifest in the physical without having been a thought process in the all. And that leads back to everything is mind, all is mind. And I'll end it right there for today. Definitely to be continued. Thank you guys very much.